In example 3, we're going to describe the transformations for this equation, then we'll sketch it by hand. So let's talk about the description part. Notice how a is just -1 out here, and there really is not going to be any stretch or shrink or widen or narrow. So there's just going to be a reflection, and we'll say no stretch or shrink. You could say nothing is widened or narrowed, I suppose, from the parent function. And then also we're going to have a shift here, and the shift is going to be left by 2. You could use arrows if you wanted and just put left 2 if you'd like. So that's going to be a horizontal shift in the negative direction by 2. Alright, so we got kind of a description of what's happening. Let's graph, we'll do that in green I think. Let's graph the parent function for this thing. So let's graph the simplest form of this, and that's just the square root of x. Notice how this is positive. So we're going to graph that here, and it's going to look a little something like this. So this is kind of a helper graph for us. It's just something that we can use to help us understand what the new graph, or this graph, the one we were given, is going to look like. What we'll do now is we'll do the shift, and actually I think for this one, well, we'll do 2 graphs as a matter of fact. So let's do the shift. Let's just do the shift left 2. So every point is going to go left 2, and we'll do that in red here. So this graph in red is going to be y is equal to the square root of x plus 2. We haven't done the negative sign yet, so we'll deal with that in just a second. So this point is shifted left 2, this point is shifted left 2, and so your graph now will look like this. All we need to do now is apply the reflection, so that's what the negative sign does, and we will reflect everything. Well, this point reflected over the x-axis is that same point. This point will be down here, and this point will be down here. It's 2 units away from the x-axis, and if we reflect it over the x-axis, it'll be 2 units away still. That gives us the general shape of this thing. It's hard for me to draw it upside down like this, but we'll try. And so there's your graph right there. If you're wondering if you've got it done correctly, pick a nice test point. Any point on this curve will work. Arbitrarily, I'm just going to pick 2, -2. So we could test 2, -2, and if we've drawn our equation correctly and drawn our graph correctly, then this should make that inequality true. So let's just hope that that's the case. Or excuse me, did I say inequality? I meant equation. So 2 plus 2, that would be underneath here. And so your x is 2, your y is -2. The negative sign stays out in front. We'll just do order of operations. We don't have a plus or minus here, and we aren't the one doing the square rooting, so we'll just keep the sign. The square root of 4 then would be 2, and -2 is equal to -2. So at least this point works, and you could test a bunch of other ones, but usually one test point is enough to verify that you've got the right one. This one's not a good one to pick, just because if you forget to reflect it, then it'll work. So I would probably pick one of these points here that don't appear on any one of those other graphs.